Hi,
Hello.
everyone. Thank you for joining today's Insight Tech Showcase. Before I hand it on over to our speakers, I just want to go over a few housekeeping things. First, we have that chat box. Drop your LinkedIn. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And then we do have that Q&A box. If you have any questions for our speakers, make sure to put them there, and we'll get to them at the end. So now I'm going to hand it on over to Julia and Raj. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine Friday to talk a little bit about brand tracking and specifically how to invest in a better brand tracking experience. This is a topic that's very near and dear to both myself and my colleague Raj. I'm Julia Eisenberg. I'm the EVP of Sago Strategy and Insight. I'm so excited Raj is joining me. He is Sago's Chief Client Officer. And today we're going to kind of start the conversation with a couple of key questions that we get asked a lot on the topic of brand tracking. You may have heard us talk about this before. It's interesting, the conversation's always different and always kind of sparkling in its own way. So this is certainly a topic that we absolutely have not exhausted all of the discussion and conversation and interesting points on. So we're really excited to be talking with you today about it. We'll have that conversation. We'll do a short demo of the tool we use, knowing that it may be useful to you in your practice or inside of your brand. And hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So let's get to it. It's important to start with basics, I think, as you probably know, but maybe don't. And that's okay. Brand trackers are a repeating survey tool that's used to continuously track a brand's health. It allows brands to keep a pulse on how consumers think and feel about their brand and to understand if their current brand initiatives are working well or need to be improved. And this really is the crux of why organizations should invest in brand tracking, or at the very least should be talking about investing in brand tracking, because capturing a snapshot in time of your brand's health and its perceived place in the market is so valuable, especially over time. When we're able to look at trends over time, brands can evaluate the effectiveness of their initiatives and be proactive in their efforts. Trackers are absolutely, in my opinion, worth the investment because we live in such a data-saturated world, especially in our industry, right? The right knowledge, not just any knowledge, but the right knowledge is power and action. And that ability to act can be such a competitive advantage in, increasingly crowded marketplaces. And we know that information travels so quickly that if a brand is not monitoring their own health, they're definitely at the risk of being caught off guard by consumers who are, because consumers have so much access to sharing information, sharing experiences. It's definitely never a comfortable experience for any brand to be caught on their heels or caught off guard. So tracking trends and tracking health, we think is such an important investment in any brand portfolio. When we talk to clients about brand tracking, a lot of struggles come up, honestly, and we do encounter a lot of skepticism, and I would say some of the most lively debates that we have about certain methods do tend to find a focal point in the area of brand tracking. And let's just be honest, brand trackers are expensive. They can cost a lot of money, and they can be difficult to action. You can get one piece of the tracking right, but then what we do with that information can be sort of muddy and murky and difficult. When we have underwhelming business results and a heavy logistical load for brands to run and manage, that journey becomes arduous. So it's long, it's pricey. You start to get exhausted. It can be a logistical nightmare. Research with this kind of a price tag should receive a lot of scrutiny, and often does, inside of brands. And many clients feel uncertain about the payoff of the actionability versus the investment that they're making. And then there's this broader issue of defending the budget allocation, which is warranted. It can be expensive, it can be long-term. There can be a lot of uncertainty outside of research groups about what are we actually going to do with this information. So all of that can sort of make brand tracking and the conversation around starting one up pretty fraught. And then once trackers are in field, I've experienced both as a client in a seat at a brand and as a provider, there can be imperceptible or a lack of actionable trends. And that can be so disappointing and discouraging. If nothing changes, what are we supposed to do? And with every frustration tied to tracking, I've found that the biggest issues don't necessarily lie with the what. We sort of have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the what. We have a lot of data, but it's with the so what. What do we do with this information? How do we take action? And it's this upfront planning and discipline that I find missing, frankly, or when I sat in a brand seat, I found missing from a lot of practices. We talked a lot about like how to do it and how to get the data and how to get the trends, but we didn't talk a lot about what to do next. And so any vendor who is selling a tracking product or speaking to a brand about it should really have a compelling, if not proprietary, way to show you what to do with the information that you learn. And this framework should be easy to understand, it should be repeatable, and it should be capable of tracking trends, which I'm going to talk about more in a moment. And so with all that said, all the issues that we see with trackers or it come up in the conversations about trackers, there's obviously a lot of room for improvement. And this is something our president, Isaac Rogers, is really fond of saying, and I feel like we've worked to adopt it throughout Sago, and it's that genius is complexity made simple. Yes, the things we do are complex. Yes, there's a lot of data here. Yes, there's a lot of process and logistics, but they should, at the end of the day, be simple. They should focus on the value delivered to the organization. Price certainly isn't everything, but when we scope brand trackers in our practice, we often find that in being fully transparent, we come in so much under the cost of our competitors, not because we're doing less, but because we have really put a premium on discipline around what is necessary. We want clients and clients should demand everything they need and nothing they don't. So there can be a lot of extras thrown in, a lot of things. Like it is very important to understand exactly what you're getting, how you're going to use it, and what in that complex ecosystem can be made simple at the end of the day so that an executive team can make a decision, so that a cross-functional team can take it and actually do something with the information. I personally believe that trackers have to come with a framework that prioritizes this swift and consistent actionability. When we're able to be very transparent about this and have an intelligent conversation about these outcomes, I find that it sort of results in a more satisfying journey overall. It certainly optimizes the return on investment. It creates a frictionless repeat, whether you're running your tracker monthly, quarterly, or annually. All of this work and discussion up front in transparency about what is the investment, what are we going to get, that can really streamline and improve a lot of the ways that these trackers kind of get put on the spot about like, why are we even doing this? Are we even getting anything out of it? So I really would challenge, clients and vendors alike to really pull their process apart and boil it down to the simplest and most transparent view. Of course, we all have secret sauce, proprietary things that we're adding in, but at the end of the day, it really is meant to aid a business, and it should not detract from all of the business decisions that a brand is making or needing to make or needing to monitor. When organizations are thinking about leveraging their insights from trackers, see, I told you we'd get back to this. It's really all about keeping a pulse on how your consumers think and feel about your brand. You really want to and need to understand if your current initiatives are working well or if they need to be improved. You should have questions like, how do consumers view our brand? How do we stack up against the competition? Are our marketing campaigns working? Things like this. You need a partner and a platform that can take data from KPIs like awareness, familiarity, certain consumer segments, likelihood to recommend, purchase intent, brand loyalty, and more. All of those things need to sort of create a constellation of insights so that you can do something about it. And with great care, we have created tools and platforms and partnerships to achieve just that. Technology is a really important part of how our practice functions and thrives. And so with every research question that comes to us, it is also usually kind of put hand in hand with a technology solution. And these solutions, of course, out of necessity, have evolved over time. And it really has been a collaboration with some of our, most trusted and valued and regular clients about what works and what doesn't. And I'm not saying trial and error is the way to, start up a brand tracking practice. Of course, you want to have something compelling and successful that your clients can utilize and have confidence in. But that feedback loop has been such an invaluable part of our product development process that we really look for and seek as much feedback as we can, not only on, the insights, how's this going? Are you able to do anything with them? How is tracking informing your business practices? But from a technology perspective, what burden can we take off of the brand, the client, the insights practice, and put onto the technology so that the people inside of the brand can really spend their time thinking, making decisions, disseminating the information, retelling these stories that we're learning about the pulse or the health of the brand. So we really feel like service and technology and this very transparent process are such vital ingredients to effective brand tracking. And we, sort of take it straight to the products that we deliver to our clients. For example, interacting with your data in real time is sometimes overlooked. I think sometimes, especially if you are getting into a more full service engagement with a vendor, they'll say, we'll take care of everything. Don't worry about it. You'll get a report at the end. But it's, I think, really interesting and necessary to be able to interact with your data in real time, because when you get a question in a board meeting or in an executive meeting or in the elevator with one of the C-level execs, you don't want to have to wait or play a game of telephone all the way back up to your vendor if you could just get a quick answer. And I think having that interaction, having the ability to interact with the data, it's something that I always put such a premium on when I sat in a brand seat as a client. And for us to be able to deliver that along with lots of other services, so that clients don't have to be that involved but can be, I think is so valuable, because it takes all of the black box guesswork out of it. You know that you can get to this information. You know that you can pull a quick chart or a quick table, and the technology is really doing its job, in my opinion, in that case. When it is, 24/7 access, you don't need a person, you don't need an intermediary. If you want it, it's all there. And I think that's such a nice, tidy way to make sure that you're getting everything you need out of your brand tracking. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Raj to show us exactly what I'm talking about and show us more of these practices inside of our existing tool.
Awesome. Thanks, Julia. So we're going to play a pre-recorded piece. We kind of pre-recorded just in case we had any tech issues on this lovely presentation. So Julia will press play. We'll give you a quick sort of demo in terms of how the tool works. Really easy to use, really quick in terms of sort of execution. So hopefully this gives you a bit of sense of flavor in terms of how we would actually approach tracking.
All right, so let's get right into the demo. So when you log into Methodify, you basically get to your home screen. Now, this includes a lot of different things. This includes sort of like all your projects you might have pinned that you might want to work on very quickly. All the projects sort of in different places, in draft, internal review, that need some approval, that are live and are closed. You can sort of sort through projects based on what you want to find. Most people will start off in the marketplace, and this could be where you want to sort of build something. So we talked about trackers, but obviously there are other sort of capabilities we have on the Methodify platform. You could maybe just build a quick survey. You can kind of use some of our digital qual tools, concept tests, all sorts of different things. But about 85% of companies, when they start to work with us, start to build their own methods, and these become my methods. These are specific to you and your company, and are only available to you in your company. This can be where you change an audience or maybe change the questionnaire or want to do different types of things with the survey. So we allow for customization in lots of different ways. But today we're going to focus on tracking. So we built a couple things just for the purpose of this demo, and we're going to go into those. So essentially, when you come into trackers, usually in a typical project, you're able to configure your entire project yourself, or we can do it for you. In this case, we've already set something up for tracking that we've already done. This was for a project for CAMH, for a health tracker. So during COVID, we were checking on people's mental health. And essentially, this was basically the audience. So we kind of configured for Canada the number of responses. You can do a lot more things here if you want to edit it. On a typical project, you would see your price as well, and it would update based on how you configured. So based on things like the audience you're looking for, the country, the length of the survey, all those types of things. It'll tell you exactly when you get your results, the time, and all those types of things. You can add in notes and PO numbers and all sorts of things here to make sure you have all the information you need for payment or just for information for the actual project. What we also do is give you a project history. So you know exactly if it's been adjusted by anybody else. So you might have people on your team working on this as well. You can kind of see exactly who's done what and when it's been sent for launch or for approval or when it's live or completed. So you get all that information. So that's basically how you configure a project. Most trackers are done when we configure them for you because they require some stuff on the back end as well. So it's typically more of a managed service there. Now, this is the setup. Let's talk about the reporting. When you actually get into the reporting, lots of things happening here as well. So on the left-hand side, you get all the different filters. You can add filters if you want based on any question in the survey. And you can basically cut the data based on any filters you want. On the right-hand side, you have lots of options as well. You can download in different versions, flat ASCII, SPSS, PowerPoint, PDFs. And we can also brand them in your colors and your logos so they look and feel exactly like your company would expect. You can also create stories, and I'll go into that in a second as well. So basically here you're going to see when it's been completed, the timeline, all those types of things. And now you can kind of get into your data. So you can basically look at things in sort of a visual PowerPoint, in a visual in terms of just bar charts. But maybe you want to go a little bit deeper and look into your crosstabs. When you look at your crosstabs, you're seeing a couple different things. And this is really powerful for things like trackers. You are going to see things like your total of your completes, but you can compare wave to wave to wave as well. You can really get into this and go into significance testing and sort of look deeper in the data. So if you're a hardcore researcher, definitely for you. If you were just maybe a bit more of a novice, more people kind of stick with the bar charts and look at the comparables wave over wave this way. But lots of different question types to go through, lots of different options here. And let's say you really liked one piece of the story and you want to start to create your deck right from here if you wanted to, or the way we would even work as well. You can publish stories, right? So we can add stories to our PowerPoint deck. Basically, I would click on this, I would name my chart, I would accept it, I would add it to a bunch of my other charts, add content to story. And now if I go into this, I can basically start to add in multiple data from charts and start to build my PowerPoint right from here. So we also think about the process in which insights professionals have to go through to build these things and having to leave platforms and sort of go into PowerPoint. This lets you to do all things at once, or even our insights professionals who run managed services, they use this as well because it helps kind of speed up that process. But we're trying to build much more of a streamlined approach to your research and insights process, and this is part of that package. So that gives you sort of a sense of our reporting as well when it comes to tracking. Lots of opportunities here. The other thing we do as well, we can't really demo yet, but we have a partnership with Knowledge Hound to get really deep in terms of the way you search for your answers. So while this is about you selecting and clicking and looking at different things, we also wanted to make the searchability of the data itself very easy. So we partner with Knowledge Hound on that capacity as well. So hopefully that gives you a good sense of what's possible on the demo, and we'll take it back to the PowerPoint now. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Raj. And it leaves us a nice, healthy chunk of time for Q&A. If anybody wants to put their questions in the chat, we'll be happy to discuss.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you both so much. We do have some questions, and like Julia said, if you have any questions, make sure to pop them in that Q&A or the chat box, and we'll be sure to answer them. Can you weigh the data in the tool?
Yeah, so if you provide the weighting schemes to us, we can apply those weights to the actual tool.
Awesome. And how do you start working with your team when it comes to tracking?
It's a great question. So a couple different ways. So we have some companies who require a lot of consultative approach to kind of, to Julie's point about making sure we're getting the right types of questions and the right types of data back. So you would work with the managed service team around sort of the construct. Once that's sort of built, you get into the platform itself and we can kind of program and build that part in, and then away you go. For others who have a streamlined approach to their tracking and maybe don't want the managed service, we can absolutely just apply your instrument into our platform as well. So either way, it's really about the outcome. So whether you want the managed service part or whether you want just a tool itself or a combination combination of both. We can apply those to you based on sort of what your needs are. We would set up the appropriate team to work with you, whether that's a straight account manager or more of a research professional.
Great. How is comment text analysis completed? Are automatic categories available, and is sentiment a key feature?
So a couple things with the tool. So we have what's called, we use automated coding in different ways. So we have a bit of a chatbot on the back end that does some of these automation for us. We also have what we would call super themes. So basically when something is really prevalent in the open ends or in the coding, you'll get sort of like these, don't think of word clouds, but think of the most prevalent piece, and they'll become that massive part of the theme. If it's super complex, we also do that outside of the system for lots of reasons, depending on sort of country and language. So based on the needs of the actual data or sort of the complexity of the instrument, we would basically function the coding either automated or customized.
Great, thank you. We have one more question for you. How do you mix service and technology?
Great question. So we have, with a lot of intention, set our practice up to really be able to scale up or scale down the service depending on our clients' needs. So, the demo you just saw and the tool that really fuels most of our brand tracking is meant to be DIY if that's what the client desires. So it is very intuitive. It's very accessible. It's something that an internal insight or research team can utilize effectively and fully as just another tool in their own brand arsenal. We also kind of tier up the levels of service. We have a managed services group. It's a group of very thoroughly, heavily vetted partners that we work with who can really kind of drop in, parachute in. Let's say you need, you don't have time to write your survey. Let's say you want a survey checked. Let's say you'd like to do some supplemental qual. We can pair you with someone to just get that little bit of right amount of service, but you're not having to, break the bank or pay for everything if you don't need everything. And then, of course, we have kind of our turnkey full service strategic practice where you can really say, I don't even know where to start. How would you approach this? How would you design this? And we've got really brilliant internal folks who do this all day long and love to do it and are very excited to sort of solve a problem with you and understand your business alongside you and make sure that everything we're putting together makes sense for your goals and objectives. So those layers of service have really come as an evolution of how Sago has come together and all the acquisitions Sago has made and all the smart teams and people that Sago has brought together. It really illuminated a need for these tiers of service for our clients, and it's been a really effective way for us to engage. So there's really no one size fits all for brand tracking. We have this great luxury of these fantastic tools at our disposal, and we can really say, tell us what you need, tell us about your business. And that's really how we make the recommendation for a level of service.
Thank you, Julia. How broad is your research globally for applying the same trackers?
That's a fantastic question. We are a global company. We have lots of global presence and lots of global expertise. And so I would say there's really not any global question that we would shy away from. Where we don't have a physical presence, we have a really extensive network of partners, contractors, and trusted collaborators who help us when we need boots on the ground. But I would say from a global perspective, everything translates really nicely into this tool, especially for tracking. Of course, there's the element of translations, and we always want to make sure that the cultural nuance is captured, and we take great care with that. But it's nice in the world of data and quantitative tracking where numbers are numbers, and so it is pretty easy to scale up or scale down to include other countries.
Yeah, and the one thing to add to that, if you think about Sago and what our core pillars are, we talked about our network of experts, which are our researchers. We've talked about our products, which is one of them is a tracking tool here. But one of the core components that is really sort of central is access to people. So when we talk about global, it's not only that the managed service team can fulfill on those things, but we have access to people to actually answer those questions. So that becomes a core component of making sure your tracking is right because you want great data in.
Great. Thank you both so much. Those are all the questions that we have today. Oh, one more just came in. Sorry about that. Are there any options for advanced analysis in the tool, such as regressions or fair share analysis?
So as currently, we haven't put those in. Those are on our roadmap. Typically, those would go through our managed service team. So Julia and her team would sort of work with you to kind of get that stuff done. But over the next sort of year or so, we'll be having sort of advanced capabilities on the reporting side as well, which should really touch on these two pieces too.
Yeah, and as Raj mentioned, we have a team of data scientists who love working inside of these tools and technology and are really conversant in it, and so are very happy to take data generated by the tool. They understand how to use it, manipulate it, run advanced analytics as necessary, and provide a complete picture. As the tool gets smarter and smarter at that, on doing it itself and in a DIY served way, they will continue to be there for additional support, review, interpreting the analysis, etc.
So thank you both so much. That was officially our last question. But remember, if you have any more questions or you're interested in getting in touch with the Sago team, make sure to reach out. But with that, thank you to Julia and Raj for being here. Thank you to all of our attendees, and we will see you over in the next session.
Thanks all. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.